So anyway, as I mentioned just a moment ago, this is being recorded. I may use parts and pieces of this in next year's training. And so if you don't want your face to show up in the training, you can turn off your camera. Okay. So yeah, so we did a six-hour training last time. And we're sort of running out of time towards the end. So I basically did say a few words about it, the model itself without going into details. And same thing happened with Cal State East Bay here in the San Francisco area. So I actually did, another session with the students over there. And so I'm doing it with you guys as well. So the idea of having a model or having a theory is important in that one is that we know what the boundaries are, and if we want to expand this work, we want to know where we can change things. And if we change things, then we can see the results, and we can try to have an understanding of why we want to change and what we expect the result should be, and so on. So that's one thing in terms of taking it to the next level. The other thing too is that especially when we're working in non-ideal situation, when we're dealing with refugees, when we're dealing with natural or man-made disasters, and people get overwhelmed, and there's certain situations and we cannot do the whole protocol as we know it. Okay, so in that case, then what can we give and we still think this would work? For example, like with blinking, is blinking absolutely necessary? If the person cannot blink when we tell them to, would that work? Let's say if the person cannot tap, would this work? What if the person cannot tell us what the level of disturbance is over time? Okay, they don't feel anything. Is it good or bad? Can we still continue? And then maybe, what if we can make this more efficient? Can we process one or two images, memories at the same time, right? So we want to have an understanding of the theory so that we know when push comes to shove, certain things we can give up easily. And there may be situations we just have to do the best we can and give up certain things that we don't plan to. And then we'll see what happens, right? So that's why I want to have this theory. And then also too is that it gives us confidence. It gives us confidence that what we are doing makes sense. It's not something magic, you stand on one foot and read this and it'll work. We stand on 2 feet and the efficiency will come down by 50%. You got to understand why it works. So with that as a background, what I want to do. Okay, so what I want to do now is to talk about, let's give you an overview of the theory first and the building blocks. So, and then I'll go in details because this is sort of complicated. There's a lot of parts and pieces. So let me just give you an overview first. And a lot of it basically came from two places, two bodies of knowledge. One is working memory research, which is basically dates back to the 1960s, 1970s, maybe even earlier. Okay, and so there's a big body of work that has been around for generations, and then well respected and well accepted, a lot of data. And then the other body of work is the work that's in the last 30 years, a lot of work on neuroscience based on fMRI data. So those two pieces of work would form the basic building blocks of this theory. And so if we look at the the working memory research piece. The brain, what people found is that, and a lot of it is actually based on data taken on monkeys. We cannot do those kind of experiments now, but back in the 60s and 70s, people were able to do that. What they found is the brain can hold multiple pieces of information, and the brain can choose what information to work on by paying attention to it. Okay, so and the next thing is like this: the brain tends to seek out memories with high emotional content, both positive and negative. So this is a concept of so-called salience. The brain tends to seek out memories with salience. And then so those are the two pieces of information that's a key. This is a big part of what we do here. So let me explain this a little bit. So let's just say, of course, I'm making this up now, okay? So let's just say this guy is sort of like, plan to have a dinner with his girlfriend and plan to propose that evening. So the guy, you know what? So he may be working during the daytime. He may be focusing on his work. He may not be but during the break, what do you think he'll be thinking about? Do you think he'll be thinking about his work, or do you think he'll be thinking about the date at night, the proposal, and so on? Chances are that's what his mind would go to, thinking about that, because that has a lot of positive emotions affiliated with that, right? So that's where the person would go during the break. But turn it around. Let's just say this guy broke up with his girlfriend last night. What would he think about during the break? Chances are he'll be thinking about the breakup, what went wrong, right? Things like that. So that's how the brain works. It tends to seek out memories with high emotional content. And then the other thing is that it can hold on to different things. The guy can be working, thinking about work. The guy can be thinking about dinner, the evening, getting flowers, whatever. Different things. And he can work, and then he can think about other things, and he can just prioritize certain things as during the day. Okay, so that's the piece. Those are the pieces coming from the working memory research. So what we do when we ask our clients to identify a memory without dwelling on it, by identifying it, we just put that piece of information into our working memory. And by focusing on a positive, engaging focus, something fun, or maybe just breathing and body scan and so on, the person thinks about that, even though the disturbing memory may be the most salient feature in the working memory. But the person can actually pay attention by choice, by will, focus on something else. Okay? So next piece is that the brain is impacted by trauma. And in, say, clients with PTSD, what people found by via, say, fMRI, functional MRI data, is that there are, say, overactivation and overconnectivity in certain brain structures. And because of those overactivation and enhanced connectivity, it can explain the various symptoms of intrusion, of avoidance, dissociation, and hypervigilance and hyperarousal. So All those symptoms of PTSD, people can actually relate them to changes in connectivity and excitation in certain brain structures. And I'll go into that in more details later. And because of the enhanced excitation and the enhanced cognitivity, the person can be easily triggered by cues, by reminders of the trauma. Now, the last piece of information is sort of fun. Is that during blinking, the brain takes a break from certain tasks at hand, and then takes a break essentially, and then goes back to the task at hand without a person knowing what happened. So we all blink, except that we usually are not aware that we are blinking. We're not aware of it, but we blink. So we essentially, like, for example, you're listening to me right now. During the blink, your brain basically takes a break for maybe only 10, 20, 30 milliseconds, short break, and it comes right back. So you don't even realize that you're just taking a break. So so that's a piece of information, sort of like a kind of a fun fact, but actually has a lot to do with the theory of the flash technique. Okay, so now how do I put all the parts and pieces together? So the hypothesis for this theory, this leap of faith, okay, is that during the break, instead of like taking a break during the blinking, instead of taking a break, the person would go to the reminder of the disturbing memory. Remember, that's in the brain already, as when we identified early. So that piece of information is in the brain. During a break, because that piece of information is the most salient feature in the brain. So the brain, instead of just taking a break, would go there. And once when it gets there, because of the overactivation and the over-connectivity, enhanced connectivity in the brain, it goes into, you can call it a mini flashback. The person can re-experience the sight and sound of the disturbing memory. It goes there. But it goes there only for a short time. And then it goes right back to the task at hand, to this lecture, for example. So the thing, though, is like this. The brain takes a certain amount of time to decide whether something is dangerous or not, whether the threat is real or not. Okay? It does not happen instantaneously because of our prefrontal cortex would have to sort it out. Is it really dangerous? Or is it so far away in the future or in distance that it's not dangerous? Okay? So it takes some time to sort it out. But during this time, your brain can be there and then be back at the task at hand already. All right? You know what? During this time, when the brain is trying to sort out whether the threat is real or not, the brain would not go into the fight or flight. So during this very short time, the brain would experience the sights and sounds of the disturbing memory without having the fear response, without having the fight or flight response. And so what will happen? Over time, the person would learn, this is different. This is different. It used to be very scary, and now it feels weird. It does not feel scary anymore. I can think about it without feeling scared. And initially, the brain was, sometimes people would tell me, it feels really weird. I don't understand it. But then over time, the person would get used to it. And now suddenly the person will realize that, it used to be in the past, it used to be really scary, but now I learned it and it's not scary anymore. So there's a distinction between now, it doesn't feel scary anymore, to then, back then, it was really scary. It's in the past. It is in the past, and now I'm here, and I'm not scared. All right. So with that, then the memory itself, the person can set it aside and say, okay, this is in the past. I'm not scared anymore, and I don't have to worry about this anymore. When it brings up again, when I see a reminder of that event again. So this is how the brain sort of like resolve a disturbing memory. They can resolve the trauma. So this is a theory, and I said there's the hypothesis is that during the blinking, the brain would automatically, because of the salience of the disturbing memory, you'll go there. Because of the salience, you'll go there instead of taking a break. This is the hypothesis. And then you'll come back, and because the time is so short, the brain does not have time to go into fight or flight. And it learns, okay, this is a new normal now. It is not scary anymore. So all the parts and pieces can be verified with using fMRI. So of course, I don't have the funding to authorize those studies and so on. But in principle, at some point in time, when funding is available, somebody can actually go in there and measure, look at the different parts of the brain, and then verify this is the case. So it's something that is in principle that is verifiable. Okay, so this is sort of an overview. I'm going to go into more details now.